students, welcome to our demonstration. So for today, I am going to demonstrate to you how to create our first project here in Visual Basic. Now all we have to do is to click New Project here, and then this dialog box will appear. Now we have to select Windows Forms application, and then we have now to type in the project name. Now for the project name, you have to remember two things. So number one, there should be no space, and number two, you should not use any special characters except underscore. So let's type now the project name. Let's say for example demo 1. So after that, click OK. And then you will be transferred on this screen. Now this is the Visual Basic 2010 user interface. Now I know you are familiar already with the interface or user's interface of Visual Basic because we have discussed this in the previous topic. As you can see, once we created new project, the form 1 will appear. Now with regards to the form, so we can resize the form to any size we want by clicking and dragging this control or size control, so you can resize our form to any size we want. The next thing that we have to do is to add controls onto our form. Now to do that, all we have to do is to select the toolbox here located at the leftmost part of the screen, so we can click that, and then we can undock this toolbox. So from there, so we can easily drag and drop the controls onto our form. Now let's say for example we want to add text box. So all we have to do is to go to the toolbox and then look for the text box, and then here, so it's here, so just click the text box and then drag it onto the form. So there. Now we can resize our text box by clicking and dragging this size control. So we can resize our text box to any size we want. And we can also reposition our text box anywhere on the form. Something like that. Now let's say for example we want also to add another control here on our form. So again, go to the toolbox, and then let's say for example we want to add a button on our form. So just click the button and then drag it here on the form. Now, same thing goes with the button. We can resize our button by clicking and dragging this size control. Also, we can reposition our button anywhere in the form. So there, so we have now two controls on our form. So number one is the text box, which is this one, and number two is the button, which is this one. So if we're done adding controls on our form, so we can now close this toolbox. Next thing that we have to do is to change the properties of our control. Now we can do that by going to the properties panel. So here is the properties panel, so we can undock it from there and then put it here so that we can easily change the properties of our control. To show the properties of the control or specific control on our form, so all we have to do is to select the control, and then let's say for example we selected button 1, and then the properties of button 1 will be shown here on the properties panel. And let's say for example we select text box, so the properties of the text box 1 will be shown here on the properties panel. Now let's say for example we want to change the text property of this button 1. So all we have to do first is to select the control, which is the button, and then here on the properties panel, look for the text property. So it's here, then change it to any text you want. Let's say for example greetings. So after that, click anywhere, and then the text here will be changed. So again, if you want to change the size, the color, the shape, or even the text or anything about the specific control, so all you have to do is to go to the properties panel. Let's say for example we want to change also the color of this text box. So all we have to do, number one, is select the control first, and then on the properties panel, look for the back color property. So you click that, and then click this drop down menu, and then select the color you want. Let's say for example yellow, and then you would notice the back color property of our text box will be changed to yellow. we also have to notice and identify that every control in our form has their own name. So let's say for example this button, so the name of this button is button 1 and the name of this text box is text box 1. Now it's important that we identify the name of our control because we will use that for our codes later. Now if you want to test your program, so all you have to do is to go to the toolbar and then select this play icon, which is start debugging, or F5 on the keyboard. So we need to click that. And then here, we can now test our program. Now, since we do not have any codes yet here, so it will perform nothing. So at this point, we're going to add codes in our program. Now, here is the program logic. So let's say, for example, the user click this button. So it will show text here on the text box, good morning. Okay, so that's actually our program logic. So all we have to do is to click this button, which is to stop debugging or Control Alt break. So just click that now to stop the testing of our program. So let's add now some codes in our program. Now we need to go to the code view for us to add codes for our program. So all we have to do is to select this button since we want to add instructions here in the button. Now once we click this, it will add text here on the text box. So double click this button and then we will be transferred on the code view. So this is where we type our codes. So I will type now the codes based on the program logic. So I will explain this later. So text box 1.text equals good morning. Okay, something like that. So what do you mean by this code? So once you click button 1, it will assign this text in the text property of text box 1. Okay, so once we test our program, so you click this tab and then click this icon to start or test our program. So click that, and then once we click this button, so it will add text now on the text box. So again, we have instructed this button to assign this text in the text property of text box 1. That is why it's important that you can identify the name of the control on our form. So it's important that you specify the name of the control correctly. At the same time, dot text, which is the property, and then equal to the value, this value. So there, we have now created our first program using Visual Basic 2010 Express.